Yeah.
Right, it's live.
Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Thank you.
We're going to open with invocation. Without objection. It's not on the on our list, but I want to ask if that's okay with y'all. If we could open in prayer. Mayor, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Sure. Father, we just come together with humble hearts, Lord, ready to serve. Father, we just thank you for the wisdom that you give us during this meeting, that all the actions, all the decisions, all the words we say glorify you. Father, we just pray for speedy, quick decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, before we move on, first off, I want to make sure we've got a quorum. We need at least 4 folks here. We got enough voting members, so we're good. I'd like to entertain a motion to add to the agenda before we approve it. I'd like to add North Sumner Elementary, just to talk about that in the same exact spot, if it's okay with y'all, where we're discussing the appropriation of funds for 4 solar school zone flashing lights. If you don't mind, Toby, I was going to see if we could add it to that same spot and just discuss that, because I think that there's a spot for 3 out there at North Summer and they don't have anything, and thought we could just bring it up and just discuss it. If that's okay with y'all. Can I get a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll move that.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay, I'll pass unanimously. So we're gonna move on, and I'm going to also just say, entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it is with that new addition.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, pass unanimously. Going to move on to agenda item number 4, approval of minutes for last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, good deal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, good deal. I pass unanimously. And then the next part, public recognition. We're going to move on. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight? Good deal. So, report of the chairman. I have nothing to report. Haven't been contacted by anyone about anything at all. And so there's one little spot that I'm going to talk a little bit on our old business that I just did a little more clarification, but other than that, I don't have anything to report. So same thing for a new business too. So we'll move on past that. Report of the road superintendent.
Okay. I don't really have anything to say about the old business, but I wanted to start with new business. Item number 1, I've got a handout. We have met several times out at Liberty Creek Elementary to observe the traffic control, and met with Jamie this last week, and
Jamie
Teachner,
Gotcha.
our chairman, and we've watched. I've been out there probably 7 or 8 times. Saw it in the morning and in the evenings. It flows pretty consistently now from what it was when the schools opened early on. I'm pretty sure when it first opened there was some confusion, and I kind of feel like what's happened is the educational process, having the deputy out there kind of help with the traffic control. Everybody's kind of following suit and understanding the traffic flow and keeping the intersections open and following it. We have, I guess John, he's been out there 3 different times, and the traffic control in the morning is essentially gone in 9 to 10 minutes. And there's 325 cars in the morning that come in there and drop it off and drop their kids off. And it's pretty good. And of course, our last meeting, I guess this is partly old business, but you know, we discussed the flashing lights. And so I went back and started doing some, started looking up some solar panel flashing school zone lights. Felt like that would be the best way to, and the cheapest and best way. And I found there were several sites that had the same unit available, and I've called a company. I'm waiting for another quote, but I've got the quotes with me. And this is nothing this is just an observation of basically about how much they will cost for 4. It felt like 2 for the high school and 2 for the elementary would be what we need for over at Liberty Creek right now. And this is something that you can install. And basically we could go in and program when they come on, and they would go off by themselves, be very efficient, and it would be something that I feel like would be a great safety tool for that roadway for the school system. I know Terry made a great points the last meeting and was very passionate about the safety of our kids and our school systems, and I second him on that. So I wanted to bring this information to you about what, we may find something that's gonna be 10% cheaper, but I would say in a roundabout way, this is close to the budget we're gonna be looking at, give or take a few dollars. But I wanted to give you all an idea of what monies needs to be appropriated for us to get this done. And so what I'm wanting to do is, and I'm gonna ask for guidance on this, because I'm not sure, and John and Merrill, y'all would probably know more than anybody, is where do we get the appropriation for the monies for this?
We would just have to make a budget request, run it through. From here, it could go to budget committee. Budget committee, they make the decision on the funding. I think you had mentioned that you would do the work.
We would do the install and maintain it, do the programming, and do everything we need to get it in place.
There's something important that we need to state on this also, is that it's programmable. One of the problems that we had when we was out there talking about it is who would actually turn it on and off. Because we weren't going to use a crossing guard out there. Usually the crossing guards are responsible for turning the system on and off. And if we just rely on these and don't budget for a crossing guard, which is another $60 a day, if I remember correctly. So we would have to budget that for the crossing guard in addition to these. But the sheriff did say that he could make someone available if we're willing to budget that amount for it.
Go ahead.
These lights, now it looks like they're just on basically a T-post, similar, driven in the ground. Are they set in concrete?
They're set in concrete. We would go in and dig them out and set them in concrete. And they have the solar panel on top, and you go in and program it, Terry, and then we would probably, for like the elementary school, we would set it at 7 and it would go off probably at 7:30.
Well, it usually are, it's, different schools are different.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving,
Right,
yeah,
I know.
what, it could be,
But-
whatever.
Yeah, but this is another issue that I have, and nothing at all against you, Toby,
Oh, I
because
know.
you have, daylight and dark, and I appreciate it. Is our highway department gonna take over every school zone sign in this county? And the reason I ask that, Oakmont, 6 years ago, I was told the highway department took care of school zone signs. I went to Miss Judy. Miss Judy Harden said, no, that's a state highway, TDOT takes care of it. So I went and talked to TDOT personally. TDOT said, no, that is a school maintenance issue. School maintenance takes care of that. The summer after I left Oakmont and went to where I'm at now, Oakmont got 2 new school zone signs put in by school maintenance. North Sumner Elementary, which I'm kind of biased to it, and there's a reason. School maintenance dug the footers, poured the concrete, and that's where we're at. Now, if our highway department, because we are probably one of the most cash-strapped entities of this government, if our highway department is gonna be responsible for that, then we need the funding. If we're gonna cover all the school zone signs, we need to figure out where that funding is gonna come from. And it's almost like we can't take part of it. We're either gonna have to take all of it or let the school take care of their responsibility.
So then, would you
So,
address that?
yeah, Terry, I need the same thoughts as far as, part of the reasons why it makes the most sense that it would be the schools is because, let's look at the station camp school complexes. That's at the corner of Hendersonville, Gallatin, and County. It's, one of the
No
schools.
man's land.
Yeah,
almost,
one school, one road's gonna be on Gallatin City Street, one road's gonna be on, maybe there's a bit of county there, maybe a stretch of Hendersonville. I'm not 100% sure about the makeup of that. But it wouldn't really make sense to get school zone lights around one school to have to deal with 2 to 3 different entities. It makes sense to, now, at the end of the day, the same tax dollars that pay for the schools are the ones pay for the money that we put in the highway department. But, it does make sense that the school in general would be in charge of all of their.
Right.
For the life of me, I can't believe that schools were built without this being budgeted in to the schools. Out of all those hundreds of millions of dollars, they didn't think about flashing lights to keep the kids safe. We talked about panic buttons, but they didn't consider traffic. I mean, we didn't even have any kind of traffic guarding or anything last month. And now we're trying to get these. Yeah, the county's gonna end up paying for it, but I would think we need to question the school board about what, or the education committee about how that was missed, or was it missed? Was it included in that thing before we just take ownership of it? The county does need to take ownership of it, though. The programmable question that John addressed, the other question I had for that was, I've driven by schools a week into the summer, and those things are just flashing away. Christmas vacation, they're just flashing away. Are they programmable daily and holidays, and when to stop flashing and things like that? Or is that somebody getting to, is that old school technology, somebody has to get to it and change the programming in it or something?
Most of the time, they are programmed for a set time, and that is 365 days a year
That's what I figured.
that it comes on.
I
Yes,
was
sir.
out thinking today's technology, you could click calendar days and
Right.
say, turn it
Well,
off
it
during
can. It
spring
can.
break, turn it off during, but that needs to be
Well, I
done.
can tell you, I wasn't offering the install to take over all the
Yeah, because that's a lot
all the
more on
signs.
his.
I was just
Right.
trying to make an effort to try to help with the situation.
And I appreciate that, Toby, you stepping up. I have a question for you, Ben, and if I'm out of line, slap me, I get that at home a lot. But, is it not state mandated that there is a school zone in a school? If you have a school in session,
Speed zone.
is it not state mandated? Can we be fined for every day that school is in session that we do not have the proper safety equipment
I'm
or
not sure.
safety measures?
Not sure what exactly those, if there is a statute or if it's maybe a TDOT regulation. That would probably be a better question for the school board's attorney, honestly.
Well, I mean,
One
is that
one I
something
could
we
find
could
out.
look in?
It's one I could find out, but not one that I know off the top of my head on.
I couldn't find it in a TCA, that's what I'm
Yeah.
familiar with, but it seems like there is something somewhere that it is mandated.
Mayor, did you have something?
I'd entertain a motion to move this to next month's agenda so we can research it.
Before we do that, I want to say a couple quick things. I just want to make it aware to the committee, or to the commission, that when we were out there, first off, correct, I mean, it was moving very well. I mean, very well. And I spoke with the mayor, spoke with Dr. Phillips, I spoke with Toby, spoke with Officer Briggs, spoke with Officer Denning, and Denning, sorry. And really, there's not really an issue out there right now with the flow of traffic, just in that general thing. But the issue, I believe, that a lot of people, and I even spoke with some parents dropping folks off, the main issue is the fact of just the safety of not having flashing lights. I mean, that seems like a bad idea. And it seems like if McDonald's could get sued over hot coffee, you would think that there would be a lawsuit possibility of, we talk about lawsuits a lot, but that just seems very, very worrisome to me. If something were to happen, first off, forget about being sued. If something were to happen to someone, it'd be horrible. And so that right there. Number two, this should be stated. Right now, so we were told that there would be a deputy, but it's been the school resource officer going out there, which I think is.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So nobody's in the school.
There's
He's
no one out there
outside
at all, and
directing traffic.
They're out there directing traffic, which I think the school resource officer may be one of the most important jobs there is in the county, because they're a very important line of defense for safety for our kids. And then here we've got them out there
Opening
directing
school
traffic,
hours is probably very critical for him.
which I would think, and you could speak more to this, Terry, but wouldn't you're probably instructed not to leave the school and not to do that, correct?
Well, we have to walk the perimeter of the school. I say we have to. Well, if you're doing your job, you walk the perimeter of the school just to check the outside of your building. But you don't go, you know what I'm saying? I don't stand out on
In the street.
Fairfield
Yeah, that's
Road
been
or
over.
Sumner Road and direct traffic. I stand out there when my kids are the car riders, the bus riders. I think every SRO, even the high schools, they'll be at one egress and degress because there's several in the high schools, but your SRO is usually at one of those. Now, they're not directing traffic. And I didn't realize that.
I
That's not
have a
adequate.
question. I know there's a motion, but I have a question to you. Where will these lights go? On what road?
Wolfpack Way.
Okay, and that is not currently, has not been adopted as a county road, correct?
That's correct.
I don't really know where to go because in all of my study, I haven't really read my Robert's rules, but I would like to amend the motion.
Well, there's no second, so there's no
There's no
motion
second.
on
Oh,
the floor.
so, okay,
No
well, I
motion
would
yet.
like to make a motion that we send this to the school board. This is their job. If we take this on, it sets a precedent that the highway department's always gonna be the one that's called. And we've got schools, we've got developments that are fixing to be built with thousands of homes. Oddly, we'll probably have to build some more schools. And I don't want this always coming back to the county to fix. This, frankly, it's a dereliction of the school's duty to have not had all this done
Before school started.
before school started. We wouldn't have to be here discussing this. So I would like to say that we send it to the school board.
School board or education committee?
School board,
School board would
the
need to send
school
in.
board
I
needs
agree.
to
So
take care
basically-
of this.
Good.
Because if we pay for it, there's money at the school board. We're paying for it twice if it comes out of general fund. And highway's strapped. You get 1 penny on a dollar. The schools get close to 80. So we do this, and then as far as the sheriff's department, I should think the schools should take care of paying their crossing guards too. However, I have not looked into that, but I do know in the city of Hendersonville where I live, the city police pay for
Within
or
the
their,
cities, yeah.
yes, but we don't have that. And I don't know where the next school complex will be, but I'm assuming it'll be in the county somewhere. So I think we send it back to the school board and let them be responsible for this.
I can
That would
second
be
that
my
motion.
motion.
Okay, and before we vote, can I ask legal, are we able to send something to the school board?
You can send them, you can request them to, them being a completely separate body. they could ignore your request for them to consider this. I don't see why they would want to ignore you telling them, hey, ask for money for lights. But,
Could we send it to the commission to send it to the board?
well,
Should the letter come from the mayor's office or from the county commission?
That's your,
it's,
The-
that's up to you.
Because we can't
The
tell them
backup
what
to this is there could be
Yeah.
legal action that they could be liable for.
Who sends the letter is a question of who do we think has the most clout over there that they're most likely to listen to. Is it the chair of the committee? Is it the county mayor? That's not really a legal decision. That's do you think they're more likely to listen to John, to Mr. Hyde, to you? It's whoever writes the letter. That's not really a legal question I can answer for you.
And I have another one, of course I do. Can we put a time limit on this? Because I don't want us to be discussing this May of next year
Yeah.
when these kids get out of school.
What you could do is send this to the school board and request them to bring it up and just have it with this committee where if the schools do not act by asking for an amendment to their budget to get the funds for the lights or just paying for it with money they find and they can transfer over, however they end up doing that, that this committee could then bring it up and decide if they want to move forward without the school at that point if they feel they need to, or if you feel you need
I
to.
think inevitably, they're gonna come back to us with an amendment for more funds to fund this. So I like his idea of putting a timeline on it, that they have to do something now, they can try to get reimbursed later. But between Mayor John and you, coming up with the legal reasons why they need to do what you're asking them to do, I think we could cram it through and get it done like it needs to be done, and then worry about how it's paid for later.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think the schools need to take full control of this.
Of course.
Yes.
But I don't want
If
them
our
to push it
town
back
to-
next
no, we
month and
can't
say,
tell
we're
them
gonna
to
go
do
back
it,
and
but
ask
that's
you
what I
for
would like for them
funds.
to do.
I want them to
Yes.
use legal means to get it done.
Because then all the
And then
money
we can still
for
push-
schools is from schools.
We can still
Yes.
push that, but we need to get it done before they push it back to us next month and say, yeah, can we have funding for
And
it?
there is the
And
benefit.
that way you could force them to do it.
There is also a very good benefit to having the schools do it because in 5 years, when a new school opens, the first thing when this comes up, they're gonna ask, well, what happened when we built Liberty Creek? And someone's go, okay, well, highway department paid for
Put
it,
a
so I guess
prec-
highway department is the one who pays for
Put a
this.
precedent that
And
they
then
pay for.
they'll do that for the next school, and the school after that, and then someone 20, 30 years from now will actually really dig into it deep and go, have we just been doing this for 30 years because someone did it once and we just looked to see what was done last time? And so if we go with the schools actually doing it, it prevents the possibility of that happening.
I think,
So-
could you look into the legal ramifications of not having it up and what violations we could be in, like Terry asked at the beginning?
I'll start tomorrow. I can have a conversation with Josh Seth, our planning director. He used to work for TDOT for many years, so I bet he would. My guess it's a regulation through TDOT rather than an
TCA
actual
or-
TCA statute.
So the motion on the table,
I'm continuing with hers. I like her
I'll entertain
motion.
an amendment to that motion because we've talked about it. So would anyone I'd like to entertain an amendment to the motion of passing it on to the school, and you said a time limit. Would someone like to make a motion for a time
Would the
limit?
maker like
What's
to?
a
Will this
reasonable
motion
time?
include North Sumner Elementary?
Oh, yeah, see, I'm glad you said that because that's
If they're in
what I wanted-
violation, it has to.
I wanted to include that in that.
Well, now, we
Yeah.
have 2 school zone signs.
No flashing lights.
No, they are flashing lights, but they're about 20 foot up. They're older than I am, and we're not gonna go into that, ladies and gentlemen. But they blink slow. You crest 2 hills to get to them, do you not? We've never had a school zone sign, per se, flashing light on North Sumner Road, which is where the elementary school is actually located. That's why now we have 3 concrete pads poured, 2 on Highway 174, also known as Fairfield Road, and 1 on North Sumner Road, which is where the school is actually located. it's very, it doesn't take a genius, I figured it out, so it definitely doesn't take a genius
Well,
to
So,
put these up, to know where they need to be located.
so we have a motion on the table, do you wanna make an
Then
amendment?
I will clarify the
And remember,
motion.
we're talking 7, correct? 7, signs, 7 flashing signs?
That henceforth and forevermore, all the school signs go through the school board. It keeps the accounting clean, keeps them responsible to their students and their teachers and families.
But Shannon, do you
Yes.
have, do you wanna,
And you want a
Make an
time
amendment
limit
to
on
your-
it?
so what,
I
what
think
you,
we
reset your
do
motion.
need a time limit on it.
that needs to be advised by them though, if they're the ones that's gonna do the
Well,
work.
we can research it. I don't know when their next meeting is, but I would, I think
it's-
what we can do within the law, request that they take it up at their next board meeting.
Yes, I think it's November 17th, I looked actually
Okay.
before.
So we'll have to get it out pretty quick so they can
Yeah.
know.
So the motion on this specifically would be to have Liberty, the school board pay for the 4 signs at Liberty Creek and the 3 signs at North Sumner.
To make sure that those are in
November
compliance,
15th
that's
at
gonna
6
be a
p.m.
point of contingency, I know.
Yeah,
To
15.
add if needed, fix the ones that are too high
Sure.
Yes,
for the new roads that have come along.
I feel a little more different about this than the committee as a whole, and I'm just ex officio here, just another county commissioner, but you have, when you construct a school, you have all kinds of expenses that could be pushed on you if you don't draw a line on what you can do as a school system. And I know in the issue of Hawkins Middle School, if you try to go down Walton Fair Road at school dismissal or take-in, it becomes an impossible task because only one lane is flowing down Walton Fair Road. And that's because of me. Because the city of Hendersonville was going to require the school system at the constraint, Mayor Alsbrooks was the mayor at that time, who could be somewhat obstinate. But he was going to require the school system to do major road work at the entry, including a long turning lane into Hawkins Middle School. And I said, no, we are not contractors, we are not road pavers, and we're not getting into that business. It should be the city of Hendersonville's responsibility for traffic flow. I feel a little bit the same with the signage. I can understand what everyone is saying here, but it's truly something, if you're putting up a stop sign, yield sign, speed sign, or whatever, this man's going, he's the signage person. He's going to be doing it, and he's the expert in doing it. So we come down to a choice of, do we beef up a school budget that we have no control over? Because once they say we need $100,000 this year for school signs, you give it to them, any control is gone. You have no say-so whatsoever. We give it to this man, we talk with him every month, and he's reasonable to deal with, and we know what's happening in the highway department. So it's coming out of our pocket, one way or the other. It's coming out of our pocket to go into the school system to do these signs that we have no control over, or it's coming out of our pocket to go to our highway department that we have control over. That's all. I probably couldn't support anything other than that, but I'm just one person.
it's a very good point, I appreciate you saying that. So, any more discussion on that?
I understand what he's saying, and I agree with what he's saying. I still think that the money should come out of the school board's budget. Yeah, he could still install the signs. He knows how to install them, where to install them, everything like that. We could provide the labor for it. I don't want to beef up their budget. I want them to use more efficiently the 80% of the money that they're getting out of the county to finish the jobs that they started. And I don't know how to make that happen, because I do feel like they're gonna come back next month asking for funds to do this. And I see your heart in this. It could be more than the amount, and we can't control it.
Well, here, this is, I think, to speak more for what Mr. Hyde's saying. And, because I think if the school has it in their budget, that's wonderful, pay for it, if they, whatever, however you wanna get it. But the thing that Mr. Hyde's saying is, if we say, okay, the school is doing it, then what if they decide to not use our road superintendent, who's the expert on that, and then use a different source, and then to what degree, are they measuring? You understand, like then it does get into.
It's
are
our
they-
money, Mr. Chairman, no
Yeah.
matter who does it, we're gonna be given the money for it.
Exactly, and then are they gonna have to find their own highway pavers? That's what he's saying, is I'm just trying to restate what Mr. Hyde's saying. That's a really good point.
So, would you advise that they do that we install, but they do the maintenance, programming, upkeep in the future, that the schools handle that?
I think the school system could probably do that through their maintenance. However, I go back to the fact that this guy is an expert in signage, not school maintenance people that repair toilets, he's the expert. But, you could do that, but that's neither here nor there. It's our money. No matter where it's coming from, who it's going to, it is our money.
I just
It's
know
gonna be
that's-
spent here or over there with no control.
It's a lot of shuffling around money that he doesn't
What
have.
can we do to start the appropriation of the money?
I think we ought to recommend to the budget committee and let the budget committee, we never need as a subcommittee, as another committee of the commission to tell the budget where to find money. We just say, we have a need at North Sumner Elementary School, we have a need here. Now, this is your baby.
And just so you, full disclosure, that was, I having spoken with you about it, that was my original intent. Whenever I wanted to bring, so I thought we'd give it to budget, find out where that money comes from, and then those kids ultimately have flashing lights. I mean, but, Commissioner Klein, let's go recognize him.
Chairman, I was talking to John behind me, and, when the school built that road, correct? They hired a contractor to build the road. And at some point, we have to buy off the road as the county, right? We make the criteria that it has to have all of the appropriate signage and flashing lights and whatever else needs to happen before we buy off the road. Is that coming soon, to buy off the road?
Not soon enough.
No. You've got construction of that other school. They haven't finished out the road yet. They probably won't for, a year or two?
And here's the other, I mean, just to keep from reiterating it, it's still coming from the same pot of taxpayer money or state funding, one of the two, and so, I mean,
Same
that's,
pants, different bottom.
yeah, that's a really good point, it still comes back to the same thing, so.
And John was exactly right though about this committee, general ops, health and emergency services, all of. You look if there's a need, and you're voting yes or no to a need, and budget says, can we pay for that need? And the answer is no, then it doesn't really matter if you said there was a need or not. But your question is there a need, not the funding for it, because next week there's gonna be a separate committee that's gonna go into detail about the funding. Now, a little different, who's gonna pay for it as far as, do we ask the schools to do it versus we send it to budget? That's different, that's very appropriate. I don't wanna get confuse anyone on that. But, you get to, does it really take 26,000 or can we do it for 20? That's a question for budget. So, just wanna be clear on that.
It's another reason why I wanted him to get involved and pull the legal reasons why it needs to be done ASAP instead of going through this whole budget and where do we get the money before we do it. It needs to be done.
That's why I hate
Terry,
defer.
Terry was saying, that you can't wait till this end of the school year to finally get it done.
Yeah.
So can we work on getting it done and find the money through budget, I guess?
I know on our side, Toby would probably hate us all if we asked him to do it without getting approval from David beforehand, because of the headache he'd have after. I don't know on the school
It
side.
has to go through budget before commission.
And this is a part of the problem that I have. These schools, we all know it. We just don't want to pull the lid off of it.
Do it.
The schools have that freaking money. They have that money.
That's why I'm pushing for
We're,
that.
and I hate to say it, but we're being held hostage.
Yep.
Not just us, but the children of this county are being held hostage because it's a tit for tat. Well, folks, I don't give a hoot and Hades. I want school zone signs up to protect our kids.
And I agree with you, Terry, that there's probably money there. It would probably shock us if we saw the amount of money that was turned in at the end of the year unused from the Board of Education. As a matter of fact, I'd like to get that figure. But in any event, that's not on the table because you cannot. I was on the commission while I was director of schools. And I can't tell you how many times I said, you can't make us do that.
Yes.
And you can't. You know, there are certain tools you can use to accomplish your purpose. But if they don't want to, you can't make them do anything. They're an independent agency, a body of this county. But in the meantime, while we're arguing, our children are without flashing lights. So I would strongly suggest that you consider just sending this need to budget and saying, and then they can either go to the school system or whatever, and it's just as being said, it's their responsibility to find where, when, and how. We tell them the need.
Mr. Chairman, too, I have to say, I mean, how rare is it that we have our chairman of our commission who is a former director of schools? I mean, like, we really do, like, we get the clearest answer possible.
But that was back in the smoke signal days, and
Yeah.
I was called out tonight by our
I
chairman.
think we still had a coal
It was
furnace in
bad.
North Sumner, if I remember
But
right.
still, though, that's pretty, I mean, like, I think it's a lot of weight.
How about
you know.
this in form of motion that we move that we send it to
You
budget,
have to make an
but,
amendment. though.
I think I have to withdraw my motion.
Well,
okay.
let me ask this before you do that.
Can I say it in discussion form then, not a motion?
Yes.
Possibly form a motion that would be, we send it to budget to get the money, but in the meantime, we get legal working on who's in violation, is it the county or is it the school board? And we get that ball rolling that Mayor Isbell can send to the violator or let us know that we're in violation to get this going.
And maybe even present that along with the budget.
In the meantime,
budget
it will
committee.
be there by the time the budget, hopefully, maybe you can get something done by next Monday that
What?
we can present to the budget
What
committee.
I'll
or
suggest
next
maybe is
month.
I can work with the mayor to draft a letter that, once I find out the correct regulations, that points those out. I think it might do more harm than good to have a letter from the attorney saying, we
No,
believe
no.
you're in violation of this
That's
specific.
why I want you to talk to him.
And we don't wanna pour gasoline on a fire. We wanna-
No, but we wanna know how serious the issue is, that we don't wanna be in violation.
Well,
And
I got one
I'm
question.
gonna tell you how to write it.
Item
That's
number
what
two.
the point made.
Item number two kind of goes along with the school zone sign. And I know Shannon, you mentioned something about that a while ago. Do we send that on with it, or do we just totally keep that separate?
Let me ask you this, have we even talked with the school board, pads are poured or lights ordered for it, and they just haven't been installed, or pads been there for years?
Maybe the
I don't
lights are in the
know.
closet or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that,
I'm getting this from school maintenance.
okay,
The lights have been built,
okay,
but they didn't get the lens.
interesting.
Now, they got lights in them, don't lights have?
To get the lens?
My
You can do
thinking
lenses.
is,
Did they mean the solar panel by chance, just the solar lens? I don't know.
my understanding is completely done except for the lens. Now, that's for North Sumner Elementary. because I've been pushing for that for 6 years. It's ludicrous.
So before we ask for money, why don't I reach out to Dr. Phillips in maintenance and see if we can get to the bottom of that particular, because we probably need to treat these separately. Because they may have something already in the works, and if we go to allocate money to buy 3 more, then they just have 3 in the
Okay.
garage.
So can I ask legal? Just to keep it from bouncing around forever, because I feel like that it's gonna keep time, because we'll go past Christmas, you know. What are the options? Or is there an option that would make it where that we could pass it on to budget, if that's so, what y'all chose, or school board, you know, whatever that is, whatever we do, is there a way to just get together every bit of information and pass that along before the next budget meeting? Would that be possible?
Budget
Next Monday.
due, I know the meeting's Monday, so all the information's due now.
Could be an
I mean, we
amended-
might be able to
could
get it done
amended
tomorrow.
agenda. They can amend the agenda though, up to Monday.
Yeah. So is
And
that,
they can only even amend the agenda at the meeting for
That's what
something
I mean.
deemed an emergency. I don't know if you can send it both to them to ask them to find the money while we're also allocating money for it, just because,
Well, we can always allocate for 7, but only buy, if we get more information, only buy the 4.
well, I'm in with the Liberty Creek ones. If we want to pursue going to the school board and saying, school board, you're paying for this, versus if we go ahead and allocate the money at the next budget meeting, I have a feeling the school board's not going to get in a hurry to look for the money themselves. So I just don't know if you can really do both at the same time.
that's a great point. So, I don't know.
No.
I mean,
I really don't know how much leverage you're gonna have with the school board. I'm just honest.
yeah. I mean, because we cannot tell them what to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's just no way to do that. So, I mean,
We can politely ask.
yeah.
And we can use it in the future.
And ultimately, okay, so just to restate it, pull us back in. Ultimately, the money comes from maybe different pots, but they're on the same stove, you know? And so ultimately, however we look at it, we have to decide, we're looking at seven different, yeah, we're looking at 7 different school zone flashing lights. 3 of those may already be just about finished, but we would just say to complete them. So that would be, so whoever is making the motion, if you want to do that, or if you want to, whatever we do, but it's gonna need to state how many we're asking for to be completed, where it's going, what time frame we want to do that in, and what accompanies that alongside. And then we can ask the mayor. We can't tell the mayor what to do, but we could ask the mayor if he would maybe look into maybe suggesting it to the school board for future reference after this moment. Just say this is not status quo. We're just doing this to finish this out. But when schools are approved to come in, then we have more deciding factors in budget and education committee and things like that.
I just
So-
want to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, the motion on the table right now is to send it to the
Send to
school
the school
boards
board.
to request them to take this up.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the current motion
Yes.
with a
Are you
second.
gonna withdraw it or are we gonna? No, we didn't second it yet.
I was thinking there was a second.
I'll second it.
There was a second.
Carrie just had to.
I rescind that. I do have a dog in this hunt. So, I'm sorry.
So
Then I had said I would withdraw the motion.
So
So
we
I
don't
will
have to send it to
withdraw it
school board.
and we will send it to budget. Is that what
So-
your
I think that's
recommendation?
what typically
Because
is
once,
done.
since you made the statement that we can't, it's like, get
We don't
blood
have to
from a
worry
turnip,
about
I don't
funding
wanna deal with
anything.
that.
Yeah.
So Ben, do you suggest we try to get it in for the next budget meeting?
So that would, David's office is the one that creates the budget agendas. I know they do have a hard deadline for when you can submit something to get it on the agenda that is handed out. Now, with a 2/3 vote at any committee meeting, they can amend the agenda there. This being something I don't think anyone would have too much heartburn about amending agenda to do now versus waiting a month on because of the nature of what it is.
If we do that, I still would like you to come back with us with the, if it's in violation and who's in violation. Is it the county? Is it the school board? I still would like to know that information, if you could bring that back to the next
Work on
meeting.
that.
Hey, and earlier I said there were 5, I just realized there's actually 6 of us here, so we would have enough if we needed to do a 2/3. No, there's 6.
It's
1, 2,
2/3 of the
3,
full
4.
president.
Voting.
For
So-
budget, we have to do 2/3.
I was just saying, if we had to refer,
Oh,
I just wanted us to know that, because I said 5 while ago as a mistake, so. I want to say, I don't know if there's something that comes up, but if the motion comes up to refer anything, we do have that option too. So if we had all 6 votes, so. So, what is your motion?
My motion is to send for allocation to budget.
Okay, so can I restate the motion and
You
tell me
may.
if it's correct? So, Ms. Bergdorf, are you making the motion to send allocation of funds for 7
Yes,
flashing lights for the school zone?
yes,
For 4 for Liberty Creek, 3 for North Sumner,
yes,
and maybe the completion, to the budget committee
yes,
to decide where to appropriate those funds from.
yes.
I would like to amend that to up to 7.
Up to 7.
I was just about to say that.
Up to 7, okay. I like that. So, do you have that, Kristen? Okay. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion before we vote on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Make a note that I'm abstaining from that
Yeah.
vote.
Terry's got us.
It may be too late for this, so just a quick mention to make sure we didn't do something that we regret. The middle school, is it gonna need signs, or are we covered because on both ends we're capped
Okay.
with the elementary and the other? Does Wolfpack Way ever get up above school zone speed limit?
Well, the speed limit's 20, I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
the speed limit is 25 out there, but the speed zone for the school is 20.
Will it
15 to
maintain all the way
20.
through?
You know, that's something that if you wanted to, you could.
We've already made the motion and passed, so we.
I understand that, but we
Yeah.
can always recall and add something in for, but in 2 years, we're gonna have to revisit this again if we need to put another sign or 2 in there. But if we are capped on both ends and we're covered, and that road stays that speed through the whole flashing zone.
Kind of my idea was that from that point on, from Upper Station to Hunters, it just becomes a full scale school zone. At that time, of course, I'll have to check on the times of when it happens,
So it'd stay that way
but yeah,
through both zones.
yeah.
Okay, I had that written down earlier and I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, guys, but I just want to make sure we're covered on it.
It's okay, and so, before we move on to this next, spot, I wanna make a mention. So, Toby, I would like to have like this information, a little bit, earlier, you know, for all of us. It just, I don't like the last minute, cause I don't have time to read through it and see, and I did the math. If there were 7, up to 7, full on, that's $42,693. So just so you know, that's the amount we're sending to the budget committee. And so I'd like to have that more in advance so we can look over it a little bit longer.
Definitely, I feel like I got the quote like this morning.
Got
So, I had to come back, and I guess the people were on vacation, or whatever. I contacted them several times.
We
but yeah.
appreciate getting it. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I
just
know.
for future reference, I think it would be the best interest.
Now,
of
how much
everyone.
did you say?
It would be $42,693.
Yeah. 6,000 per,
Does
basically.
that cover
Hopefully.
what you will you bill the school board then for your time, or will you bill the county? So we would have to ask budget for more than that, because you have to pay.
Yeah, and that's why we
Because this
didn't,
is not an
but that's why we didn't
installed.
put the amount in there. I just
Okay,
wanted, I
alright,
just wanna make
yeah.
it aware for public record. I didn't want it to be something that was.
And is there a price break for buying in quantity? Cause seven's a lot more than four, I mean.
Yes, I just quoted 4, I would say there would be some savings there.
And also, just,
Apply
just
that
for,
towards it.
just for record's sake, because it wasn't included, at $6,099 per, just, if the public's watching this, $6,099 per light, just so you know.
And as if you don't have enough on you already, Toby.
Right.
Yes.
If they do decide to throw this on you, could you come up with a figure of what will be needed to add to your budget so that you can take care of all the school zone signs? Because, and there again, ladies and gentlemen, we do not need to have the highway department take care of some of them and the school to take care of some of them.
Yeah.
It all needs to be in one envelope, because if not, who's gonna be liable?
I do kind of want to point out one thing, you know, other than just the cost. You know, the highway department only has so many employees,
That's right.
and there's, you know, every day of the year, and there's only so many days where the weather's right, where you can be paving stretch of road.
Right.
So every time we add something else, that's a day that they have a crew that's not paving.
Right, yeah.
It would be,
Should be
it would be, at a very minimum, some part-time help and at the, you know, probably a full-time employee. But that's the thing that I would have to answer your question. Are we just talking the county schools? Are we, you know, there's schools in our system that are in the city that the cities take care of, so.
Well, that's why I think it's good we passed it on to budget, because budget can find where those funds come from, and they can make those decisions and research that further.
And not just the funds, the maintenance of them, the
Absolutely.
programming, the, you know, all that.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay, so, Toby, if you would you, if no further discussion on that, then let's move on to, the number 3 on the,
Well, what about number
We
2?
didn't do anything about number 2.
oh, we didn't do anything about number 2.
Wasn't
You had
that-
mentioned it, and I thought we were, yeah.
School zone traffic control.
Is that different than the flashing lights?
Yeah,
No,
the actual
that's-
payment of the officer.
You know, when I went and talked at length with Sonny, it was, mentioned that, you know, they pay their officers somewhere, it's usually an off-duty officer, $30 an hour. And so it would be 30 in the morning and 30 in the afternoon, so $60 a day, 5 days a week. Simple math.
That's 15,600 if it was, and they wouldn't do it during Christmas.
No.
You know,
There's
that's-
180 school days in a year.
Yeah, but yeah, that's.
So, you know, that's something that it's very similar to what we just passed. It's an appropriation of money, and if they want to do it, and if we feel like the need is great enough to pass it on to them for that.
If I'm not mistaken.
Because I will say this, it was never my intention or John's intention or anybody here that, you know, Jamie was out there, you know, we didn't want the SRO officer out there directing traffic. You know, no, I don't think anybody feels like that's a safe
Yeah,
bet. Nobody does.
Yeah, they never made that, just to make it clear, they never made that
Well,
statement.
and I'm
or,
sure
you know.
that's just a stopgap measure.
It was 30 days.
Beach High School, they have someone at beach every morning. He is an off-duty deputy. His pay, if I'm not mistaken, comes out of the school budget.
It does. I found that out the other day. The Board of Education is paying for him.
Why would they not pay for this?
Well,
That's what I don't know.
there again, you can't have just the icing. You're gonna have to take some of the cake too. And the schools are gonna have to step up to the plate and pay for their responsibility.
This might be it being late, but it just kind of dawned on me. We're talking about funding for a law enforcement officer to be out there directing traffic. Isn't this a more appropriate topic for the Health and Emergency Services Committee? Because we're not talking about we're not talking about infrastructure. We're talking about asking the sheriff to use one of his employees out there This
True.
doesn't seem like.
It got attached to the flashing lights and it shouldn't have.
I do believe that
It's a good
that's
point.
not really this committee's realm. I
We need
believe.
to pass this on to emergency
Yeah,
services.
so does anyone entertain a motion
I'll
Yeah.
make a motion.
that we pass this on, that we defer it to
I'll second
the
that.
Health and Emergency Services? Okay, there's a second,
Good catch,
all in
Pam.
favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, good deal. I didn't ask for discussion, I'm sorry, was that okay? Was there any discussion?
Nope.
Okay,
No
so then,
objections.
okay, go ahead, Toby.
I just wanted to bring us some discussion in doing some evaluations on our county roads. I've kind of run into some not obstacles, but some oddities that, I'd gotten a call on doing some patchwork on a certain road. I won't mention the name of the road. But, as I drove down the road, it was 0.85 miles long. And I rode over 2 cattle crossings while I went to the end of the road. And I kind of chuckled. I thought it was funny, because I said, no way should a official roadway, county roadway, have cattle crossings on it. And I'm pretty sure it's in a certain farm, and I mean, but at the beginning of the road, there was several other houses, and I just wanted to print this off and give y'all, so coming up in the next month or two, I'm gonna have some more information, get landowners and different things, and probably write an official letter to y'all as a recommendation. But I wanted to give you the information of what the proper procedure is for us to go, because I'll be honest, I didn't know. So I looked it up and wanted to share it with y'all, and so I put this on the agenda as just a discussion point for us to look over. And me and Ben's been trying to get together for about a week now, and he's very busy. And we actually seen each other the other day, and he's like, I know. He said, so, I know you've been trying to get with me. So this is some information that Brett Howe with CTAS has given me. And it's just kind of the proper procedure of what we would go through. And it would be,
Thank you, sir.
it would be me basically writing a recommendation letter to y'all and, going over it and then making the choice of contacting the landowners on the roadway or putting in the newspaper for 14 days. And then once we do that, it could be voted on by this committee and then passed on to the county commission to vote on and to make a resolution. So I just, like I said, it was kind of comical to me to drive on a county road that's on our official road list and have 2 cattle crossings on it. So
Are you proposing that we fix that, or that we stop
I'm
owning
proposing
that road?
I'm proposing that the first quarter mile of it, where you tie into the first cattle crossing, we probably shorten that road and amend it, and it'd still stay a county road, but the rest of that road will be taken off.
But right now, you're not even making.
Right now, I'm not even making a motion or doing anything. I'm just saying, I'm just bringing this to y'all for information, so we all are in agreement and understand the same rules at what we're gonna go through.
And can say, Christie, would you mind sending this out to any commission members?
Is it basically somebody's driveway?
Well,
It has turned into that?
it's
or-
just kind of turning, and so let me say, I'm not saying that this was done in a wrongful manner. I'm just saying, at the time it was put in as a county road, it's just evolved over a period of time and nobody's really paid a whole lot of attention to it, so.
So it's going to become basically a
Yeah,
long driveway?
That's what I think,
I
yes.
got you. You're gonna pave
So,
up to it?
I'm gonna
and
pave up to
stop.
the cattle crossing, and there's 4 or 5 houses on that end, and rightly so, it's a county road.
It looks to me like you have to deal with the planning commission on this and not us.
Well,
Because it plainly says here that the chief administrative officer must then make a recommendation to the regional planning commission or a committee of the county legislative body if no such regional planning commission exists. We have a planning commission.
well, Mayor, what I went down is just, if you flip over and it talks about a commission of 5 county legislative body members that are chosen by the county commission, and I kind of took that to be the highway commission. Now, it could be interpreted differently, and and that's one reason I wanted to give it to y'all, because I figured there would be some discussion on it.
Well, even further on down here, it says that the county chooses to operate under the alternative procedure and does not have a regional planning commission, a standing committee of the county legislative body, so forth. So
So
it looks
this
to
would
me
be
like it's a planning
planning
commission.
commission.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, that's what we'll do, and like I said, we'll go over it. I will get some more information.
I will let you use that for the planning commission.
Oh, I've got plenty of it. But, I'll have to get, some more information, but I did wanna let y'all know about it. And then, just kinda wanted to do an update on what's been going on with the highway department for the last 2 months. We kinda walked in and kinda behind the 8 ball. We've kinda reinvented some of our processes and what we're doing with the department. We, right now, we're operating, I guess, Christie, probably 5 places short of where we were before I took office. And what I've done, instead of hiring people going into the winter, I've chose to try to use that money and just really concentrating on paving. We've got great mowing efforts. We're doing a lot of mowing. We've been doing guardrail striping, doing patching. But what I want to do is replace the people that we've lost. We lost one truck driver. My second day in office, well, after my first day in office, that weekend, he died in a motorcycle accident on the weekend. So I started off my first week with the death in the department. So very sad. But what we're doing is I'm gonna try to replace the 2 or 3 truck drivers that we're short right now, going out of winter into spring when we need them, when we're really ramping up our paving efforts. So we're gonna save that money, because once this winter I'm shutting down the paving operations for winter work. I'm gonna use the paving crew to spread them out and fill the gaps of where the greatest needs are. And so we'll just save that money.
Is
We
paving
just,
shut down now?
huh?
Is paving shut
No,
down yet?
it's not. We're still paving. We'll continue, while the temperatures are up.
I know asphalt plants, so usually sometime in November, December, they shut down.
Yeah, and it is. It's dependent on the weather, When we start paving, we want it to be, in November, it's 40 and rising. When it gets to December, it's 45 and rising. But it's something that we take a look at. It gets to a point that, if you're too far away from the plant, the temperatures of the asphalt just drop too much for proper compaction rate. So, did want to let y'all know, we just did our first state aid project, called, I'll get right to it, Highland Road in Westmoreland. It was 3.122 miles. The state paid 75% of the mix that went on that roadway. We went in and in-house, we replaced all the culverts on that road that needed to be replaced. We prepped everything, we trimmed the trees, clipped the edges, and went in and did a leveling course and paved the road. It turned out very nice, did our own striping, and then went in and did all the shoulder work as well. So our guys, our department did every bit of it. And we just finished replacing the signs today, and Christie sent all the paperwork, or is sending the paperwork to the state so we can get a refund on the monies for the surface mix.
And it looks good.
Thank you. I was very proud of it. We've got, one thing I did want to add, we got some very talented people in the department. I'm hugely impressed and excited to have the experience and the talent that we have on the team. It's great. Mr. Robert, you want to say?
I had reached out, I talked with Judy and I talked with Hendersonville, trying to find out who was responsible, Hendersonville was responsible. The stretch from Hunts Lane on Center Point Road down to about Mansker Farm Boulevard. All that water coming off of the hill usually ended up I think about 2 or 3 times last winter, it was a skating rink. And the police just cordoned it off, all because they will not dig out the ditches on that hillside. I thought it was county because it's county side, but they said because Hendersonville owns that part of the road, it's Hendersonville's responsibility. And I'd already called him, he said he was gonna do it, it still hadn't been done. The road's been paved, and it took over 30 years to get that road paved. So, I just don't wanna see the road tore up again this winter when all that water starts freezing on it.
Well, I'm supposed to be meeting with the mayor here in the next week or two about some other things going on. One of the roads that we've gotten chosen to do state aid for next year is Center Point, and that's finishing it from where they stopped to Long Hollow Pike.
Yeah, well, fine, it's fine as far
Okay.
as, county does a great job as far as paving the road, I know that. I just want that ditch dug out because the water needs to, they went in and put
Can
the
you-
pipes
can you-
under the road,
Will you
but
do-
they didn't dig out the ditches to
Give,
accommodate.
I will call you and get the specified area, and I will get with the Public Works Director over there and make sure that gets done.
To your report, do we get an address of your state aid road? Like, will you,
Yes, I
Oh,
will,
okay,
I will
so is that
email,
re-
I will
okay.
email you what my bullet points that I'm talking about.
oh, okay, all right, I just wanna make sure.
I would love to just to go out and see, just
Yeah.
out of, just,
What I was
you know,
thinking,
just
I just
to,
wanted to
just to
see it.
praise the county for it,
Well,
basically, but to go out and see
I
where
would
it
love
was.
for you to come. One of the things that I'm gonna do, we've implemented, Meryl, you're gonna laugh at this, but it's kind of a social media outlet to where on Facebook and certain things, we're letting the county know what we're doing, what the dollars are being spent, where we're paving, some of the things that we're
Oh, I
doing.
think that's a great idea.
And one of the things that I'm gonna do probably the next week or two is go out to the roads that we have been paving with the commissioners of that district and make just a short video and talk about the road and what we've done and say something about the commissioner and his district and let the people know what's going on. And it just gives everybody an idea of where we're working and that we're spreading the wealth all over the county, everywhere. And I want y'all to know, and I want to speak clearly on this, I'm meeting with state aid. I've met with state aid 3 times. We're doing North Sumner over by the elementary next spring. And then we've got a few roads, and I verified this with Christie. The state aid program starts July 1st, so we've got some roads already picked out. So we could actually work ahead and start prepping them in the spring, summer months to where that we could probably start on a couple more roads after July 1st and do them as well. And, these two, the 2 roads that North Sumner and Highland, that's almost 5 miles of roadway. If we can do that same thing after July 1st, I just look at that as being 10 miles that we've done in a little over a year. That state has paid 75% of the dollars on, and that stretches my budget. And so we're having a meeting. I'm going to a class about doing some federal grants for our bridges and everything that I have found out. Ben, you can correct me on this, but state aid is like checkers and federal grants is like chess. And so one of the things that I'm trying to do is to get set up because the federal grants take 2 to 3 years and maybe even longer, and I want to use that on bridges. Is use that money, and a bridge is a what I call a budget breaker because they cost so much, not only just to repair but to replace. And so what I'm going to try to be looking at is just creating the will to where I'm getting them started year over year to where I have at least 1 or 2 going every year to where that we're getting federal grants to update our bridge system in our county.
So Toby, I got a few questions. So I love that you're telling us this is very helpful. When we go through it, I'd like to still say, if you wouldn't mind, next time I'd like to have all this, just so we can look through it ahead of time. But I believe it would be helpful, especially since we saw the issue with the planning commission. Speaking of planning commission, I've been thinking about that. first off, on any state aid or any federal funding or anything, can we know like any match that we would have to pay, what we had to match, and any maintenance on what will be required for the future, just so we can help know, and then basically know the total county commitment of appropriations that we're gonna have to commit to. Because even if we get free money, quote unquote, I wanna make sure of how much not free money we have to spend to get that free money.
That might be a question for David Long, just for looking back and seeing which grants from
Yeah.
state versus federal that we've had matching in the past that could be reoccurring.
Okay,
They can probably find, by talking to the finance department, a general number of the average year, this is how much we spend in matching.
I like that. I was just meaning like maybe whenever, if we're speaking about, this is what we're gonna be doing, if there's something that requires action, I'd love for us to have that information, just to know whether it be through, if we know in advance, we have to go through David, you know.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant just overarching for grants in general, not specific projects. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just specific projects. And then the other question, but thank you on that. But the other question is like, in regard to the planning commission, when there's an adoption or an acceptance up for a vote for a road, I would like for us to maybe know when that came before the planning commission, you know, and, you know, basically the reports and the approvals of that, or any relevant documentation, and like the agenda and minutes specifically that was stating that, and then reference the zoning resolution, what, if it was stated that we must accept it, because if we knew that in advance, that'd be helpful, or if it's just something that, you know, maybe would be good to accept, because I know there are good reasons to do it, because I'd even spoken to Ben about it, and did a little research on it too, on why you would want to accept or not accept roads, but I like getting your expertise on that. So if you wouldn't mind, share that with us when we have something come up, because we look to you to help us with that. So.
Well, on the state aid projects, everything is a county road, but what we're looking at is roads that we get to pick. And a state aid road is a road that is physically attached to another state road.
Yes.
So and I've got a map, and what I'll do is, probably what would be good is I could probably create the maps for all of you, outlining the state aid roads in our county.
So that's how
Okay.
Center Point Road works, because it goes between
Long
Long
Hollow
Hollow
and
Pike and
Gallatin
Gallatin Road.
That's correct.
But my question is, I drive that road several times a week, going to and from church. And though, those houses that are currently being built and with swimming pools, et cetera, would that road not quickly be torn up with dump trucks and
Well, you
heavy machinery and
could-
bobcats, et cetera?
You could literally say that about any road in the county right now. But Shannon, that's one thing I'm looking at, and Ben, I don't know about this, I was gonna ask you later, but of maybe looking into having, now, and we've got this in certain areas where we have logging operations in the northern part of our county, and you've got people that are just going out there clearing out, cutting down trees and stuff, and I just don't know, do we have a permitting?
So, logging, they own the property, that can be farming, that can be agriculture, or timber, getting timber. We're very limited if it is,
So
well,
you got-
we
you
just
got-
really can't touch agriculture.
You got logging and topsoil and fill material, all three where I can take you to roads where there's hundreds of trucks in a month that come out of it. And it's just like it's hurting the road.
Well, I asked specifically to that question because all that is being, it'll be, once, to me, if there was another portion of a state aid road that, you know, was not currently, or was already developed, not currently being developed.
Wait till it
But I'm
builds
not
out.
trying to do your job, it just was a
No, I know.
question
No, I
that
understand.
occurred to me because I drive that road all the time, so.
One of the things that we're doing, we haven't had a real safety program with the department when I got there. What I'm doing now is implementing, going through the winter months to where we're going to implement one to where the foreman it's called a JSA, a job safety analysis, where they come in and they take 10 or 15 minutes each morning to talk about the job at hand. And what we've always done in safety, we talk about the hazards that we're doing, of what we're gonna endure during that day, and then you talk about the control points, what makes that either eliminates it or gets it to a workable condition of where it's safer and keeps everybody focused on the job at hand, so,
Have they not been doing that?
no.
Yeah, that's,
And
that's
so
a big ocean.
that's something that, I wanna get set up. It will not cost much at all to do that. And so that's one thing that, during the winter months, I'll probably do an OSHA 10-hour class. We'll implement the program of the HCSS program. I had it with my last company. I've got a slew, a library of meetings to choose from, depending on whether it's paving, bush hogging, utility work, culverts, whatever different thing that they're doing during the day. I've got meetings set up with the hazards and control points already listed, and I'll get to use them. So I feel good about that. One of the things I've talked to several of the commissioners about is hopefully by this time next year having an evaluation system of all 800 miles of roadway, where they'll all be graded and color coded. I hope to have it on the GPS system. I know that's something we got to talk to IT and kind of figure that out and get with them and make sure that it's workable, but I feel like it is. I've done it with other cities. But it's something that it becomes a living organism to where you can click on the road, it's color coded based on its rating, and then as we pave the roads, the good color is going green. You know, when the road's green, it's 100%, 90 to 100%. And it becomes a historical filing cabinet where you can click on the road and see all the work that's happened on that road from the point that it's gotten paved. You can always go back and look and see what it costs to repair and what it costs to repave.
Will it
And-
also show a tentative schedule of when your road may be coming up
Right,
in the future?
and so we can keep up with the life
Makes
cycle.
it 30 years.
We can keep up with the life cycle of the
Yeah.
roadways and look at our processes to see, to
So
try to
look forward.
gauge if what we're doing is working. So there's some systems in place that we're trying to get done. There'll be no cost for the OSHA classes. I can teach them. I'm a certified trainer, so.
Can I come?
Yes, you can.
Yay!
You can't ask any questions until the very end.
When I made the joke about 30
But
years.
can I raise my hand?
When I made the joke about 30 years, I wasn't saying anything about, Toby has he does have a limited budget to work in. And,
Wow.
and I mean, there's only so
We're-
many
And
miles
I'm
of road
telling
you
you,
can
Toby,
do.
the county part of Center Point Road was fine.
Yeah,
It was the
Sure.
Hendersonville.
right.
It was
Well, I will tell you, one of the things that we're getting is we're getting, a lot of calls, the attitude, the morale is good, we're doing a lot of good work. I said, you know, I told them, I said, when I come into office, I said, the greatest thing that I can do is to give y'all the tools and give you the resources to go out and do a good job. And I said, quality is at the utmost high standard that we have, and having the right attitudes. I said, the citizens of this county aren't the problems, they're the reason. And I said, as long as we keep that in our minds and we go out there and do the best job we can do and have a good time and enjoy it. I said, when you enjoy what you're doing, you're working with good equipment and you're doing good work, all of a sudden pride and quality starts shining through. And so that's our goal each and every day. And if you see our guys out, talk to them, ask them if Toby's doing a good job.
Oh, I do.
And I'm very passionate about that. So, one of the things that I hope to do in the spring, I want to invite every commissioner out. I'm gonna show y'all some of our processes of everything that we do. And
How are we looking for this winter?
I was gonna ask that same question.
Sorry, I didn't.
No. It's more specifically, and it may be what you're getting at, is the pothole repairs from previous winter. It was really bad. How are we looking coming into this winter? We all caught up, or we still got some work to do before? Is that kind of where you're?
we're way behind on
Still
some of
behind?
the roadways. And just like the email that you sent me,
Depending
you
on
know,
citizens?
I'm gonna meet with them, tomorrow. But it's gonna be something, it's a catch-up game. And, you know, I've had to go out and talk to people that they thought their road was really bad. And I looked at it and I said, I really wish you would get in the car with me and I'll really go show you what a bad road looks like.
Yeah, perspective means everything, and that's why I said just
Yeah.
look at it, and if we have to push back
Yeah.
on that and give
But,
perspective.
and but I did tell them at some point, I said, this road is at the point that it's going the other way. And I said, I hope, you know, right now, I will say this, in 95, you know, Scotty Parker was laying 100,000 tons of mix a year. This year in 2022, we're gonna be under 40. So we've had diminishing returns year over year for the last 15 years, and it's been based on inflation and cost, not what we could do as a whole. What I wanna do is that's part of the evaluation program so important to me, because I become a salesman to the commission and show them this is what our mean is on our PCI, our pavement condition index. If we keep doing what we're doing, we're just gonna maintain bad over the next 10 years. I've got to inject extra money into it to get the average up for our overall roadway system, because we have a life cycle. A road is supposed to last so long, and if you got 800 miles, you can't do the bare minimum and gain on it. We've got to do more. So that's part of the system that I'm trying to bring into play here, to where I can sit there and show y'all on the monitor and kind of go through the system to where it's like, yeah, Toby needs some more money. You know, right now, I've got a very small budget, and it's something that we need. The biggest item is buying asphalt. I need money for asphalt. So,
All right, how are you set for diesel budget? I've heard diesel is gonna be a shortage in our area.
Well,
and it's gonna affect us for probably the rest of the winter. Probably go up 30% for the state of Tennessee. They were saying that on the news.
you know, right now, we're fine. When I got the call, I have to, each month when my diesel gallons are going down, and I have to call somebody. We call 7 different companies to get prices, to see who has the cheapest price at that particular day. And we tell them to bring it to us, and they bring it's like 8,500 gallons. And so I was we always try to do the calling when we're down to 3-4 day supply. And so what the problem was is the Cumberland River was so low. A lot of this is shipped in by barge, the diesel fuel is. And so they couldn't get the barges in because the river wasn't high enough.
To Ashland City.
And so only 2 companies quoted me. And it was because they had tankers to go out of state to get the fuel for me. So I had to pay, there I was right in the middle of a state aid project. And to answer your question, you know, if it's $250,000 for the mix, the state was paying like $170,000 of it was paying for the mix. So I'm in the middle of a job that somebody's giving me 75% of the money to buy that mix. I can't stop. So I have to spend an extra $10,000 or $12,000 to buy diesel fuel that week to continue on to save money on this job.
I brought the point up just to let everybody know in the Highway Commission, it is being talked about on the news, and they are talking about it going up 30% over this next fall and winter, and price may not be an issue, maybe finding it, period.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the reserves right now are lower than they've been in, like I said, decades for diesel in our area.
Well, Tim, the good thing about it is that we'll primarily go from running 10 haul trucks a day to just running some mowers and some backhoes and different things. And so our fuel consumption will go down, because when we're paving, we're spending $50,000, $60,000 a day. You know, we're putting out 700-800 tons of mix. We got 10 trucks running. I mean, we're spending a lot of money. We're doing as much as we can that day, because we got a season that we got to get it all in.
Right.
But the fuel consumption will definitely go down for the winter, so that'll help us. Because instead of the fuel lasting 2 to 3 weeks, it may last a month to 6 weeks. You know?
No, I got you. Regardless, I just know you need more in your budget,
Right.
Because it's only going to get worse.
But I just wanted to update you. I will email you all that, and in fact, the handouts I've given you, I will go ahead and email you that too. So, I appreciate y'all's time, and that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that a lot. County Mayor, do you have a report?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commission business, without objection, I believe we've already kind of covered the Hunter's Lane issue. Is there anything that we needed to discuss that I'm missing? Okay.
Hunter's Lane, that's Liberty Creek. One thing I just wanted to mention and question is during the traffic study evaluation, you said you were looking at it. One thing we mentioned to the citizens that was one of their primary concerns was they hated that stop sign. And I mentioned that during the traffic study, we would look to see if possibly
You
a
did
yield
say
sign be put in. And was that evaluated? Is that a good idea, bad idea, suggestion, or is it still being looked at? If it's still being looked at, that's fine.
Toby, would you answer that?
It hasn't been looked at. What I did is I reached out to the engineer that helped with the original traffic study, for the schools, who's working with Board of Education. And I will get with him on that. Me personally, I feel like it's not a good idea. The stop sign is working. The people that are using the stop sign are the people that's turning left into Wolfpack Way. They're actually coming to a stop during the high traffic times and cutting through the traffic, so they're coming to complete stop. The people that are turning right to go back out to Latimer are using it as a yield sign anyway, because, I mean, they're not hardly stopping at all. But from a liability standpoint, if we put a yield sign, if we take that stop sign down that's already there, it would take me several months from a liability standpoint to take it down. And I would have to go through a whole deal to where during that time, if somebody had a wreck at that point, we would be liable.
You'd have to show
And-
great efforts made to let the. show the
I understand
different
it's, you
traffic.
turn it on, now you gotta turn it off type thing, and
Right.
it takes time, but these people have lived there for decades. And a lot of them plan on living there on longer, and it was just done, and they wanna undo it quickly so they can go about their lives. So the people going back into the, not neighborhood, but those homes, they're the ones that were bringing up the
I can
issue.
speak to that, and if you don't mind, Toby. So standing beside Toby and looking at it, you know how it's a whole different perspective.
Yeah,
I realized that, and now, forgive me if I'm wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the pain point is the fact that, well, we never stopped there, and I understand, I mean, I drove down that road too, you wouldn't stop there. But when there's the new road, whether it's county, whether it's school, whatever, there's that new Wolfpack Way that connects directly with Hunter's Lane.
Mhm.
When you look at it, there has to be a stop sign somewhere. And when you see the way the traffic goes, it really does, well, I guess there doesn't have to be, but it surely seems safe to have a stop sign somewhere, because I don't think you'd want to put it, you would mess up that whole flow of traffic if you put it right there coming off, correct, Toby? Coming
Yeah.
off of that,
I
Well,
think everybody's,
I think what he's saying is where the stop sign is, it's just putting a yield sign and not having a
instead of the stop sign. And my point is, we're looking at 180 days out of the year, not the 185 days that it's not
I know that's
needed.
what the people
That
requested.
the people are gonna be angry about stopping. There's no reason to stop, because there's nobody coming, because school's out, it's winter break, it's late in the evening, I'm going to the store, it's 7 o'clock, at night, whatever. That was the request made, and so if it was, safe enough to do it and traffic flowed okay, a yield sign would suffice if there's going to be a crossing guard there anyway, stopping them when they need to be
That's
stopped.
a great point.
That was the whole issue with the study, was stop signs redundant at that point, because we're stopping when we need to stop with the crossing guard, and we don't need to stop anymore, let it be a yield sign. So at least they're slowing down and not busting around the
There is
curve.
not much traffic, when you're looking in the morning at least, and I don't think there is in the afternoon either, but coming from that side of Hunter's Lane, there's really not. So would that be something that we can look into?
I will give it to them and let them look at that.
Let them know the perspective with which we're looking at it
Sure.
from is for the people that don't go to school there, the people that don't have kids there, the people that have lived there their whole lives that are disrupted now, and there's no reason to be certain times of the day and year.
And ultimately, we do want your recommendation on it too. I mean, because I want the safety for the people first.
I just want to get them an answer that they asked for. That was a big sticking point for them, and
Yeah.
and if it's a good compromise, then great. If it's a bad idea and it's going to hurt people, then I understand.
And if there wound up being a crossing guard, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So I remember speaking to that. So, okay,
So
so,
my next meeting, possibly, maybe.
so if you wouldn't mind.
I'll
looking
get
at
with,
that.
I'll send them an email in the morning.
Thank you.
And so, I don't believe we need a motion on any of that. So,
Yeah.
without, further
Make a
ado,
motion
is
to
there,
adjourn.
is there a report from the county mayor, for the county attorney? I just
Oh, okay.
I
promoted you, sorry.
really don't know why that's always on this agenda. I don't think we've ever had a county attorney's report for, highway commission, so no report.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so-
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Ben.
Well, you beat the 10 o'clock mark, good job.
Everybody be careful you wait.
It's almost an hour earlier than last time.
Take care.
See you later. Hey, real quick.
I'm gonna tell you.
Here's the reason.
Raleigh needs some.
Because when I did it the second time, and I did all plus, it was on their names, but it didn't go through.
I was like, I'll let him look at it. I'll ask him to look at it. If he says no, then
I called Jay and need to talk to Patty. And I let them know, I said, I've got the MTO.
Did they answer you?
Oh, yeah, they're very happy. They said, they both said, we really appreciate your comments.
They may be.
And they posted it. County clerk, yes.
That's what I thought, I couldn't remember for sure. I've looked on there before and I found it.
Thanks.
David, I'll call you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, text me tomorrow, or call me. Yeah, text me too, man.
I will.
I didn't notice Mr. Neal wasn't here again.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the capture.